Hi, I'm Marcus and I play the shakuhachi. Ever since I started making videos for beginners for shakuhachi, and in particular some videos on what a suitable instrument would be for a beginner, I received many messages that suggested certain makers for cheap bamboo shakuhachi that either came with a question, are these any good? Or actually I got a few messages as well that recommended some of these shakuhachi as being a really good thing for beginners. And the question basically is, why spend 150 euros, something like that, for you or a hoshi arashi or a shakuhachi bell or something like that, when you can get a bamboo shakuhachi for a bit more, say like 200, 250 euros. So, of course, I had to check this out to see if these shakuhachi are actually of any use, in particular for beginners, because the ones that I've seen so far actually weren't really very suitable. And so I ordered one from the internet, and I'm going to tell you what I think about it today. So this video is of the type, I ordered some cheap stuff off the internet, let's see if it's any good and if you can spare yourself the expense. And obviously it's quite attractive to try to get a bamboo shakuhachi for such a low price. So I ordered one from a big internet platform, and this is it. I ordered a 2.0 shakuhachi, so this is a longer shakuhachi than the standard length of 1.8. So instead of having the bass pitch being D, it is a C flute. The reason for that, so why did I order a 2.0 and not a 1.8? Well, why not, right? And I mean, if people are right and I'm lucky and get a really good instrument for this very low price, that's really great because I don't yet have a 2.0 shakuhachi. So maybe this works out, we'll see. But I just wanted to point this out when we get to the tuning later on, so the bass pitch is a C, not a D. I'm going to divide this video into 3 parts: the good, the neutral, and the bad. Okay, starting with the good. One of the good aspects is that this shakuhachi is actually made from marake. So this is the type of bamboo that most shakuhachi are made out of. There are a few other types of bamboo that can be used for making shakuhachi as well, but marake is the most common and is the one that is most suited for making shakuhachi. This is a proper piece of marake. The quality of the bamboo, as far as I can tell, again, I'm not a shakuhachi builder, I just play the instrument, but from what I can tell, the quality of the bamboo is actually quite nice. The next good thing is that it actually has a proper inlay. So here you can see the utaguchi, the blowing edge, has an inlay that is probably made of some form of PVC. So this increases the durability of the instrument, of the utaguchi, because this thin blowing edge, as you can see, this is quite fragile. So this is the thing that breaks the easiest on a shakuhachi, and this is the thing that you have to take really care of. And for a lot of the cheap shakuhachi, the makers actually don't make this inlay because it actually takes quite a lot of time and quite a lot of effort, but they just have the raw bamboo here instead. So this is here, so this is very nice. Also, as you can see, this flute here has many bindings. There are 2 reasons why you would have a binding on a shakuhachi. One is to repair a crack. So the natural fibers go this way, and then the bamboo can split in this direction, and so then you can use these bindings to tighten the tube again so that you can continue using the flute. The other reason for adding bindings on flutes is to prevent the flute from cracking, and as you can see, the maker used many bindings, so this flute is quite unlikely to crack. And from the way these are made, you can see that obviously the maker has quite a lot of experience doing this, and these are very clean and very nicely made, so no complaints there at all. One more positive aspect about this flute is that it is actually very responsive. For shakuhachi, because you close the holes with your fingers, it is a comparatively slow instrument, meaning that when you change from one note to the next, it actually takes a while until the instrument responds and switches to the new frequency. So very often you don't have a really steep transition, but it's more a gradual transition between the notes. And it is very nice if you have a flute that actually allows you to play with quite sharp onsets. So this flute actually is very responsive. So if I play, you see that as soon as I close these fingers here, you get the new tone, and there is not a lot of transition between these. So this is very nice and is usually the sign of quite a good instrument. So those were the good aspects. And now for the neutral aspects. The first one is that I want to mention is that this flute doesn't have a joint. So many modern shakuhachi have a joint here in the middle, which allow you to take the instrument apart. This joint is very tight, so you can take the instrument apart, and then it's easier to transport because you don't have such a long tube. Standard shakuhachi is more than 1/2 meter in length, so having that stick out of your backpack is usually not so nice. So it's actually very convenient to have this joint. Many shakuhachi, even professional grade shakuhachi, don't have this joint. And I'm just mentioning this here because making a joint takes time, takes effort, takes material. So not making a joint saves money, saves cost. And so on this shakuhachi, there is no joint, which is fair enough. I just want to point it out that this might be something that you would want to consider when thinking about buying a shakuhachi. The next thing is the structure of the bore. So again, I'm no shakuhachi maker by any means, but what I noticed when I played this flute is that the bore is very wide and it is very straight. So it is not tapered in any way. Either towards the bottom or towards the top. Both types are being made for various reasons. Talk to a shakuhachi maker if you want to know the exact reasons why. But this bore is just very straight and very big as well. I do have a jinashi flute, so a flute without any lacquer inside that also has this type of bore, and it just creates a different type of instrument. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I was just surprised because the shakuhachi is being sold as being a kinko flute. But I think this really is just the shape of this inlay for the utaguchi, because so basically there are two types, tozan and kinko shakuhachi, and they really, the main distinction these days is just the shape of this inlay in the utaguchi. So I thought when I read kinko flute, I thought that actually the bore inside would be structured in such a way as well that it would be suitable for kinko. But what this flute has is basically just some G inside. But the main function of this G seems to be mostly to add to the durability of the instrument and not really to shape the bore or to tune the instrument. So G-ari shakuhachi that have the G inside, the maker usually spends a long time to forming the bore so that the flute is in tune very well. Again, this is not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's just one of my neutral points. Okay, then the last of the neutral points is that apart from the shakuhachi itself, there was a lot of stuff that it came with, and the way it was marketed, it seems that this was seen or is seen by the maker as a big advantage. I'm not really sure why. So having a plastic bag in which the flute comes, that's always good because it helps regulate the humidity of the environment, the humidity of the flute, the bamboo, so this helps prevent cracking. So this is always good, having a plastic bag. The next thing that it comes with is this moisture removing device, which is very different from what you usually get. So as you can see, it is almost as long as the flute. However, what you usually have is really just a piece of cotton cloth, a string, and a weight at the end, and then you just pull this through the flute like so to remove the moisture. This flute comes with this device here, and I can see that this actually is suited to removing the moisture. So it fits in in the tube, right? So this is nice, and you can obviously then do this from both sides because this is a bit shorter than the tube, so no problem there. The thing that I'm a bit worried about, so I don't have any experience with this type of device, but the thing that I'm a bit worried about is that it's probably quite easy for something to stick in here. I don't know, some small stone, and then if you put this in the bore, this might actually damage the flute. I'm not sure if this is just in my head or if it's an actual potential problem, but usually you're instructed to take extra care of protecting the utaguchi when you put anything inside the flute. But you can see that when you put this in the flute and there is, I don't know, maybe something here, then it might damage the utaguchi if you're not really very careful and take care that nothing sticks in here. Again, I don't know if this is just in my head or if it's a real danger. I've never seen this for shakuhachi before, but it may be actually a good thing. I don't know. So, but this comes with it as well, which must add to the cost quite a bit, which is a bit surprising because this is a budget flute. Then you have a carrying bag, which is quite nice, and you need one for a flute anyway, so it's nice that it comes with the flute. Another humidity bag for storing the flute in, so that's very nice as well. And then you have this case here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you like cases, this may be something for you, or maybe something you value. But again, considering that this is a budget flute, I'm not really sure why you really would want a case. I ordered this flute from China, and the Hoshi Arashi, which I reviewed a few videos ago, also is a Chinese product, and I'm not sure. Maybe this is just customary in China to have these cases when you buy an instrument, when you buy a flute. I don't know. So another neutral aspect. It comes with a lot of stuff, more stuff than you usually get for a shakuhachi. Is this good? Is this bad? My personal sentiment is that I don't really need these things, and it would be better to make the flute a bit cheaper, but I don't know, you might find this useful. So now, what about the negative aspects of this flute? The first one is that the top of the flute is actually not at a note. So you have these notes that you can still see here, and the ideal shakuhachi has 7 notes, and the 7th note is the one at the top, and you have 1 note at the bottom. So for example, if you take this flute here, you can see this is 1, 2, 3, this has been shaved off, but this here is a note, that's the 3rd note, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this is where at the utaguchi, this is the 7th note. So this is basically what you would get from any shakuhachi maker in Japan. They wouldn't really use any raw material where the top doesn't end with the 7th note, or if the shakuhachi has a joint, maybe they take a bit out in the middle so that the top ends at the 7th note. So it's quite unusual for a shakuhachi not to have the note at the top end. But it doesn't really affect the sound as far as I can tell. And of course, you have a much better chance of finding a suitable piece of bamboo where you don't need this note at the top. And marake, good marake for shakuhachi making is actually quite hard to find and is also quite expensive. So if you can live without that, that obviously reduces the cost of the raw material quite a bit. Personally, I wouldn't really care, to be honest, because for me what is important is the sound of the instrument and the playability of the instrument. However, I listed this under the negative column because I find this top to be a bit thin. So the position on the chin for me is a bit uncomfortable, but I'm quite willing to accept that. Probably I'm just used to shakuhachi that have the note at the top end, but for me it feels a bit flimsy. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like the feeling very much, but I'm sure I probably could get used to this. The other thing that I find a bit unfortunate in this particular flute is that is the place of this note here, because this is actually just where my thumb sits of the right hand, and it's just sort of on top of this note, so it feels, I don't know, the grip feels a bit uncomfortable because it twists my hand in this direction a bit. So in terms of playability, that would be a minus point for me as well. But again, it may be something that it's easy to get used to. So I said playability and sound are the main things for me. The next negative thing is that the raw sound I find a bit thin. So when I play this flute, the raw sounds quite thin. So it's sort of, so on the one hand, if you have a Jinashi flute and you cannot make a loud raw sound, the good thing that you have in Jinashi flutes is that you have a very rich sound. Because if you have flutes with G inside, one of the consequences is that the bore is a bit thinner, and it is also a bit smoother. So this means the tone quality that you get from a G-Adi flute, so from a flute that has G inside, is smoother than you get from a Jinashi flute. Or put the other way around, in a Jinashi flute you have a richer sound. The sound has more texture, more overtones probably. Unfortunately, in this flute, it's somewhere in the middle, so you don't get the strong sounds, the clean sounds that you get from G-Adi flutes, but you also don't get the nice textural sounds that you get from Jinashi flutes. It's really just in between. Yeah, so that's why, for me personally, this is not my favorite shakuhachi sound. But as always, your taste may differ and you may like the sound. Okay, but now for the final big thing, and that is the tuning of this flute. So playability and tuning are the important things about the shakuhachi, as I pointed out. And the problem is that tuning shakuhachi actually is the most difficult aspect of shakuhachi making, and is the bit that takes the longest for the shakuhachi maker. So let's see how much in tune this flute is. And I have a tuning meter here. And what I'm going to do is that I'll be playing adjacent notes, and I'll try as much as I can to keep everything else constant, which is basically the air speed and the air pressure that I'm producing when playing the note. This is a very big thing when you learn shakuhachi, controlling air pressure, air speed. So this is difficult to control, but I'll do my best. So that really the only thing that changes is that I'll be lifting a finger. So what I'm going to do is that I play and try to get to the correct pitch as best I can, and then I'll just lift a finger. Okay, so C to E flat, or Ro to Tsu. So as you can see, this Tsu is sharp by 28%, maybe even a bit more. So that is very difficult to compensate. So now from Tsu to Re. So that's not so bad. So once I adjusted to the Tsu position so that I could get the E flat, just lifting the finger for the red pitch, or for F, was quite okay. The F was a bit flat, but not too badly. Okay, so next one, Re to Chi. Again, not bad. So next, Chi to Re, or G to B flat. So this is flat by 35, 36 cents. So that is quite a lot. So if I want to adjust so that I get the correct pitch, I have to do quite a big kari movement. Then Ri to kan no ro, so ro 1 octave higher, or B flat to C. So sharp by 9, 10 cents, something like that. You might be able to learn to live with something like that. 10 cents maybe, but something like 35 cents is really difficult. Anyway, let's go further up. Ro to tsu again, but in the second octave in kan. Okay, so this is actually flat, say by 10 cents or maybe 15, I don't know. However, if you may remember the first octave, this was the other way around. So tsu was sharp compared to ro. Now tsu is flat compared to ro. So it's not that you could develop an automatic adaptation by playing kari meri in some way. When you go from ro to tsu, it's also dependent on which octave you're in. So this makes it quite tricky to learn that, even if you want to adapt to the tuning of the flute. Right, tsu to re in kan. Okay, that's a bit flat, a bit flatter than an otsu. Again, 10 cents, I might be able to live with that, but it is quite noticeable. So, re to chi. So, very flat, 20 cents, that's a lot. I'll adjust again. Chi to hi. More than 30 cents flat. And lastly, he to, let's say, E in daikan, or E in kan. So I'm already adjusting very much to the kari side to get the he in the kan octave. And then if I go up to E, I'm again 25 cents flat. Okay, so the tuning is not very good on this flute. Let's do one of my standard tests, which is the so-called chi-ru pattern. Okay, so I don't think that it would be possible to really play a clean chi-ru pattern on this flute. Okay, so here is the executive summary. You get what you pay for. For this flute, I paid a bit more than 200 British pounds. So let's say 220 euros, 230 euros maybe. And this, of course, is a lot cheaper than paying 1,000 euros for a flute, or 2,000 or 3,000. However, you get what you pay for, right? Because the maker has to spend a lot of time and effort and needs to use more quality bamboo to produce flutes that are easy to play and that are in tune. So in the introduction I said, well, maybe I get lucky and I get a flute that I can actually use. So am I going to keep this flute? No, sorry, I'm not going to keep this flute. For me, this is not working because the tuning requires too much adaptation. In particular, in my lineage of shakuhachi playing, Pitch is the #1 priority, and it just has been drilled so much into me that the pitch for what I play needs to be correct, that I would not be able to play on this flute. I'm always happy to give a slightly more friendly evaluation as well. If the pitch is not, if the tuning is not important for you, this is actually a nice flute. It's marake, the quality of the bamboo is alright, the bindings are good, so there is little risk of cracking. So, if you subscribe to this idea of a meditation flute, right, which is basically just a lazy way of saying it is a shakuhachi that is not in tune. But if you like a meditation flute, this is a really nice meditation flute, right? So if you just want to play long notes, right? If you want to do a lot of robuki, or if you just want to explore sound colors, right? If it's just about the sound textures for you and not about melodies or pitches, or if you just want to do breathing exercises with it, right? So maybe it is actually a meditation tool for you and not a musical instrument. This is a good flute, so by all means, get it. However, as soon as you would want to start playing a tune on it, it will be really difficult, because even just adapting to remotely the correct pitches requires a lot of gymnastics. So a lot of merikari adaptation, maybe some opening of holes or something like that to really make it work. And this is really hard. So this is part of the Shakuhachi introduction series, and the main question that I have in some of these videos, by the way, it never really was my plan to make so many Shakuhachi gear videos, but there seems to be a lot of interest in what a suitable beginner instrument is, so that's why I'm making these videos. Anyway, so the main question in this Shakuhachi introduction series for me is this a suitable instrument for a beginner? And I would say, no, for 99% of beginners, this is definitely not a suitable instrument, because you will require so much adaptation to play simple tunes on this flute that it will be extremely frustrating to use this as a beginner instrument. If you start playing, and as I say, you like the meditation flute thing, great, this is a really good flute for you. But for the normal beginner, as I say, 99% of beginners would really struggle with this flute, and even experienced players, I think, would be very frustrated using this instrument. So again, you get what you pay for, you pay a lot less, and you get a lot less, but you do get something. So at least there is that. As always, I hope this was helpful for you. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Please let me know if you see other makers that make good flutes that may be suitable for beginners and that may be not quite as expensive. I'm always curious what you have to say, and just let me know what you find difficult when you start playing shakuhachi. Okay, I see you in my next video. Bye!